Welcome to a new conversation. They are all different, but it's still the same about this mindset transformation entertainment. If you want to entertain your mind so that you feel that you have your own back, you feel like you can have some space where your nervous system starts calming down. And you can start hearing and feeling yourself, and you go, here, wait, I have more to say than what I thought that I could say. This weekend, I really noticed something. So, this is Fresh Talks Global Vision. Welcome in. Uh, this weekend, I started noticing something, and it's something that I felt probably all my life or, long time. And it was that feeling of what's the difference of feeling like you're in a box, like what Susie Mierzwik and I just talked about, like you're in the box, because we're going to have Susie in here in a minute. I'm really excited about this. And when you're in the box, you feel like you're talking. You can talk because you're so used to it. But there's something that's clenching on you, and for me, it's heart. I feel, and then that if I feel like I'm just like clenched in my heart, then as the conversation goes, or I talk, that all of a sudden my energy goes down, 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 down. And then if I take a moment and catch that, sit down, take a breath, or put my hand into Mother Earth because I've been pulling a lot of weeds these days. Anybody else here? And my body feels free. And then when my body feels free from the lowest point of no energy, I bounce right back. And when I was younger, I used to go take a nap because I didn't know how to clear it. And so I'd be like, oh, okay, I see take a nap. I see take a nap. So I feel better, like that kind of anxious feeling. And again, I didn't even know I was even anxious. I just knew I had to go do this. So what these conversations are about is what I call hashtag speaker locking arms. You welcome in because we're going to talk in a way of, for my platform, I feel we are here to stop the blaming and shaming within ourselves, to really stop that so that we can venture out and stop blaming and shaming others. So this may seem a little counterintuitive because I'm like, oh, we're out here stopping the blaming and shaming. But the first thing is we need to heal first. So we naturally do that. So either way, I'm interfacing with you or we're going inward, and welcome in Susie Mierzwik. Not meaning to butcher that at all, but I'm so glad we have your name here because it's not that hard to say. But welcome in, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Rhonda. I'm happy to be here.
I am very happy you're here. This is your second time with us.
Yes, it is.
And
I'm very, very happy to see you again.
I'm so happy to see you too. You are so lovely. And we are in the same group together that we get to see each other monthly and have these wonderful conversations around other people that are speakers and out there really sharing their experience out there in the world and doing it through conversation. So let me set a little bit of intention here through your bio and also the book that really pivoted you speaking about some really great stories in your book that was released last year, right? 2024?
Yes,
Okay.
actually, 22.
Oh my gosh.
Time is flying.
The time is flying, Susie. I just realized my kids have been gone for a year now. And I'm like, both of them moved out. And I'm like, oh, it's
Wow.
already a year. So time flies. Every year flies.
Yep.
Okay, so Susie Mierzwik is a best-selling author, speaker, and entrepreneur. She helps her clients transform their health and life with a cutting-edge technology. Before her current business, she transformed thousands of lives as an educator. She volunteers with various charities such as Samaritan's Purse, which is a global organization that operates throughout the world. Her memoir, Sow In Tears Reap and Joy, was published in September 2022. She is also a contributing author to 100 Successful Women Around the World. Welcome in, Susie. Welcome in, my friend.
Thank you.
I love that last time we talked about Sow in Tears, Reap in Joy, a transformation memoir. If we can just get in truth about what your learnings have been since you have released this book in 2022, because I knew you had this big awakening, but you, like what you were saying in the green room, that there's been so much transformation going on. Can you share with me how you're doing today and what brings you in here on the shift of the energy since last time we've even seen you?
Certainly. And you know what? The biggest shift I think is, Rhonda, is now I live pretty much in a state of joy. When I was in my prior self, living in the box, it was mostly living in a state of fear. Like, what will that person think? What will this person think? Oh, I have to do what my husband wants me to do. When I was younger, I had to do what my parents want me to do. I felt like I did not exist. I was just like a little bobblehead on a stick. It was there, but there was no me inside of it. Then, when I finally broke through, I realized that, wow, I don't have to meet other people's expectations. I have gifts to share. I can be truly me, and I don't have to try to satisfy other people's expectations.
Oh, this is Susie. I feel like you're speaking a tune of my life too. This is why I believe that we're connecting so deeply about this. Also, the the feeling of how'd you pivot at the feeling of that I am here to serve somebody else. Exactly what they want is what I'm giving them. That I don't really stand in any sense of who what I care about. I'm just focused on you. How'd that pivot shift where you realize it's an internal work to be able to support others instead of the opposite?
That's a good question. And you know what? The big crisis in my life was when I got divorced. Because before that, I called myself Mrs. Flying Pilot. I didn't even have my own identity. I was just Mrs., you see, or I was Christy's mom and Wendy's mom. I wasn't a person. So when that whole thing broke up, I had to do a lot of deep work to see who was I,
Yeah.
because I didn't know that boundaries existed. I was just like part of whatever group I was in, you know? And I identified, oh, if you say that, then I'll say that. If that person believes that, I'll believe that. But after I had a breakout of Mrs. Flying Pilot's identity, Susie had to look in and see, what do I like? And I'll just give you an example. One year at work, we had to write down what we wanted to get in our Secret Santa box. Well, you know what? I had the hardest time identifying because Susie didn't even know what she liked.
Wow. Susie, that sounds so lonely and at the bottom, that's where that pivot happens. Can you share about that? Like, so what happened with that aha? I think it'll be great for the our viewers of this is knowing that that isn't the end, that there's a way to get out of it.
That's true, Rhonda. And you know what? I found out through my journey, which was extremely painful, and I describe it in my book, Sow In Tears. I had to dig so deep to find out what was real, but I knew I couldn't do it alone. So I created what I call the three keys to survival. And we all go through all kinds of tragedy, transformation, hit our head against the wall time and again and wonder, what am I going to do, right? So I called it the IOUs of survival. Look in, because first of all, we have to see, what am I missing? What didn't I learn before? What lessons went right over my head? Okay. Then we have to get appropriate support from safe people. Now, when I say safe people, I mean those that are not going to tear us down, criticize us, keep us inside that little broken box of who they knew, and let us expand. And then the last one is look up, because we know God has a plan for us. Even when our eyes are blinded and we don't know where to go, we have to keep our eyes up, waiting for Him to reveal the next step.
Oh, I love this. So it's called the IOUs.
Yes, the IOUs of survival.
I
Look
love it.
in, look in, look out, and look up.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, let's go deeper in there.
Okay, sure,
Let's play with that because
sure.
I thought that is your tool that you are just playing
Those are
with
the tools in my
consistently.
toolbox.
That
Yes,
is your toolbox.
yes.
Okay, so if you're in that first space of understanding this I out of the IOU, can you share more about the person and what they're at this space when they're in the I? What are some of the gems that they get out of it by really getting that clearing out of the IOU, that first step, the I?
Well, you know what? Looking in can be a little bit challenging or even a little bit frightening, because if you've just been kicked to the curb, as in a divorce or a major health crisis or a financial crisis, a crisis at work, and now you're just sitting there on the curb wondering, what steps do I take? You really need to look in, because you can say, oh, it was all his fault. Oh, it was the company's fault. Oh, it was the economy. But that doesn't serve us. We have to look in and say, okay, well, here I am. It sucks to be me at this point in life, but what do I need to learn? It's like I had to learn about boundaries. I had to learn that some people are not safe. I had to learn that I had worth that didn't depend on being Mrs. So and so.
How did that feel, that first empowerment? Because it sounds like you were not raised around having these tools, but they came to you based on your experience when you were down, what I'd call like in the rabbit hole, just
Yes.
down in the dumps, not knowing how to get out. So, oh, my dog is coming to visit. That's wonderful. So, how did you learn this? How did you pivot that? Like, was it that it came dark at the night, or were you doing meditation? Like, what happened? Like, were you just like, here, wait, where was that pivot for you?
Well, you know what? There's been many pivotal points. And when I said look up to God, there's been times when I could hear God giving me a direction. For example, when I was a young mom, my my baby was only 3 weeks old. I was hospitalized for 3 weeks in the hospital after her birth. I didn't have anybody to take care of her. My husband was in the military. They didn't give him any time off. I had no family. So I said, God, you got to help me out. Well, somebody I didn't know heard about it through the grapevine, I guess, and came to volunteer to take care of my newborn. Can you imagine that? I didn't know this lady from Adam, but I felt that this was somebody I could trust. And here
Wow.
I was up shit creek without a paddle, right? So I had to trust. Another time I was at a job and it just wasn't feeling right, that I wasn't progressing along. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And I had a dream that said, you're missing the boat. It was like a banner in the sky. And I said, oh my God, I think I need to take a pivot in my career. You see? So then I looked for a career counselor to help me with that.
mhm.
See? So it's not that we figure it all out on our own and we start marching in a new direction, but there's individuals that can provide support or guidance. And you know what? If we can listen to the messages God is giving us, this also tells us which direction to go in.
Mm. I just want to like go. Mwah. So I think of you now. I think of you now. I'm just like, mwah. The and those downloads, those insights, those dreams, those things, you realize that you always have support no matter what. And if you keep asking, the answer comes right there. And
Right.
what I love about this too, Susie, is that you can have anything you want. You just
Mm-hmm.
got to feel it and understand why you want it, and to be able to keep focused in on that. And I think about that with our movement with the speaker locking arms, where we're talking about where we just feel so yucky inside. We just don't know what direction to go. And so we're in that bubble and we
Mm-hmm.
keep going in that vicious
Right.
cycle. But you did that pivot where you like pop the bubble and you're like,
Yeah.
oh no, I'm going in the hospital. And they're like, that's a really, and so that's only one of your stories out of, I
It's
bet,
only one. Yeah.
20.
But
So we're
that's
on
an
the,
example.
yeah, we're on the I, and then okay, so then the O. So the IOU, the
Oh,
second
oh,
step.
where you were looking out. Okay. Some people would say, oh, well, I'm divorced, so I'll just, move in with my family, or, I'll have a sister or a cousin or somebody. But I didn't have anybody because they were all on the opposite coast. My husband was gone, And so it was like, here I am. But I knew I couldn't exist in a vacuum. I still had to raise my 2 girls. I still had to work every day. So I said, I need a support system. So I found a divorce recovery group. But you know what's interesting? It has to do with our mindset and are we ready? Because the first divorce recovery group I went to, I didn't even feel divorced. My ex was telling me, "Oh, we're going to get back together. Oh, we'll go to therapy and we'll work it out." So here I was listening to these stories from other people, but I couldn't see my story. So
Wow.
that passage was just a temporary one. 6 months later, now I was ready. I realized he was gone and he wasn't coming back. That door was shut.
Yeah.
I had to move forward. So I got a new group. Now I had a new mindset. You see, my mindset was like, this is what's happening to me. I have to figure out why. How did I get here? What didn't I know in the last 20 years that put me in this spot?
Yeah. That put you in that spot. And then you realized that when you looked outward, the second step there, the IOU, that there was actually gems out there, people just ready to support you. And you took the steps. And those groups were there for you all along, but it came to you and helped you guide yourself and your family and transform. And so on the you, that's really looking up. Can we talk about your spiritual journey? Was that always there? Was it something that had to be awoken based on that you're like, okay, scared, where am I going with this? Like when did that start showing up for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, I had a background of always being a believer. So, but when you don't face tragedy or hardship, it's just kind of something on the back burner. You know what I mean? It's like the background of the wallpaper, right? But then when you come up against your boats going over the rapids or your car's crashing into a brick wall, now you're going, oh my God. And then when you call out to God, He's been
Yeah.
there all along. You just didn't notice.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody this morning and I was sharing, this journey that I've been for 15 years, the deeper journey, like really doing those pivots. And I can remember by myself crying and crying and crying, like going through that process. And I seeked animals. Like our neighbor, our horse neighbor. Well, I had individuals too that I was seeking, but Whiskey, our neighbor horse next door. Horses are just known for that big safety, that big heart.
Right.
And so I started talking to animals and finding my way through Mother Earth and through Oliver and Robert, which are dogs and our goats. And
Mhm.
I don't want to go deeper into that because I kind of get where I'm going. Like no
Yes.
matter where you're at, like us humans are there for each other
Mhm.
because that's what you're gonna when you bring your frequency up, when you're
Yeah.
using the IOUs, like looking up, like you're just saying, okay, God, who are you bringing me today? Because I am here to serve and
Mhm.
you really get into what that means for you, it keeps evolving. So
Yes.
now when you are applying these IOUs for you, or share a story about somebody else just recently that you were coaching or working with, that they really started making these changes for themselves, so our community can really start listening to applying this and how to do this for themselves, because I bet they're working with their mindset
Mhm.
situation today.
Right. And you know what? I had to wonder when I was going through this broken part of my life, what in my earlier life didn't give me the tools I needed for my adult life.
Yeah.
And I realized that I came from a dysfunctional family, which nobody ever talked about their feelings. Everything was under the surface. Just you had to be perfect, like a picture, and
Yeah.
everything was robotic. So I didn't learn any tools then, you know. But it wasn't until I say the egg cracked open and all that messy stuff came out that I was able to start picking up the pieces.
And it's interesting that messy stuff is like where the divine space is. It's like because we're just structured in talking. No. How dare you say that? Shut your mouth up.
Yes.
Whatever happens.
Yes, exactly.
And that's where you get to be more bold and be out here because there's such a sensitivity around what we do. Like we're just so exposed to these stories and
Mhm.
experiences. So I see how the IOUs are really powerful.
Yes, and we can all apply them in our own way.
Yeah. Where can our people find you so they understand more about continuing with the IOUs, or what do you have going on right now that we can direct them so that we can
Well,
really
I'd say the best central place is my website, which is susiemierzwik.com. They can also reach me on LinkedIn because I'm on Susie Mierzwik in LinkedIn as well, and on Instagram. So all those three are Susie Mierzwik places that they can reach out. But on my website, there's actually a calendar so people could book a call with me.
Nice. And booking a call with you would be so they could go through the IOUs or just like
Mhm.
get connected with their journey.
Right. Or just basically have a conversation and see what do they need help with? Do they need help with emotional learning? I'm also an empowerment facilitator because I've gone through a lot of empowerment training work, and I can guide people along that path as well. Because I felt like I grew up in a box and I didn't know who I was until, as I say, the eggshell cracked open and I had to reinvent myself in my 40s. But I think that that is often the case. We feel like we're in this narrow passageway. And, like you said, shut up, don't ask questions, and we'll give you an opinion if we need one, that kind of thing. And when I was married, I thought you had to be married till death do you part, right? But
Yeah.
in my mind, the curtain went down like the old time theaters, and I didn't know what was behind the curtain.
Wow. What an amazing life you're living, Susie. So we talked about this. Sow in
Oh,
Tears, Reap in Joy, a transformation memoir.
yes,
So how many books do you have? Because if we go to the website, they're able to grab a book, which is great. But
yes.
what are you learning through your writing?
Well, you know what? Writing is a great healing tool. And ironically, I had been writing little journals and diaries throughout my life. So that in COVID time, I opened up this banker's box and there were all these journals. So I was able to go back and see, wow, that really happened to me. It wasn't some figment of my imagination.
Yeah. Susie, before I was going to clip it here, but we need to talk just a little bit more here in the area of so things happen to us and we
Mhm.
think, well, it's just part of life. And there's highlights that you remember that weren't so good. That's like you can
Right.
change and transform those things. But to go really deep and to really grow emotionally, it's like being aware of really what happened and knowing that actually maybe there's more that happened than what you think happened on the surface
Mhm.
level once you start opening that up. And to have empathy for yourself, give yourself space to be able to say, here, wait, I'm so used to thinking that that's kind of normal in a bad way, but that's
Mhm.
just, that's how it is. But you start really seeing yourself when you revisit some areas. So when this is the last portion here, when you started revisiting and opening that up, what did you discover while you were looking through that?
That's a great question. And I realized that I was bringing myself to tears. There were months when I was going through tears, tears, tears. But I realized it wasn't just because I was divorced, because I was walking through that journey, with the divorce recovery group. But I felt like this little girl that was never allowed to speak or have an opinion or, open her mouth, so to speak, growing up had kept me like a little mushroom. So I was crying not only for the divorced woman, but also for that little girl that never got to speak up. And I'll tell you, years ago, before COVID, I went to a Christmas fair and I saw a painting of this little girl holding a bunny rabbit. And the words on the painting said, "I am enough." I broke into tears. Here I am at the Christmas fair, breaking into tears by seeing a little painting. So I bought it. And then this is what turned out to be the cover of my book, because it's this poignancy of not being anybody important at that point in time that was that same image in that divorced wife or that wife married for almost 24 years that couldn't speak up for myself and my kids.
Can we take this in a global way, like just your vision? Because since you are out there helping people, what would happen in this world if they were flipping the story the way that we've been talking about today? What's your vision out there and how you can see this world and what could change if people stepped into this more?
Well, we would be much more forgiving of each other. We would be much more loving and kind. And I'll give you an example of a client recently that I was talking to. She was a new mom, and new moms have a lot of anxiety and hormones and all that. I was able to share with her what I was going through as a new mom. So I feel like once we reach the heart of ourself, then we talk to another individual we never met before, but we can meet them in that heart space.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I love everything around the heart. This is where our superpower is.
Mm-hmm. Right. It is. It is.
Well, Susie Mierzwik, thank you so much for being here with us.
My pleasure, Rhonda. I love chatting with you and your audience.
I love you too. Fresh Talks Global Vision. This is so we're on this. I love Susie Mierzwik talking about the IOUs, speaking about opening up her journals and really learning and discovering about actually that life was more challenging than what she could actually feel at that moment. And where is it in your space that you feel that there's things to be unlocked so that you go deeper and you become stronger, more resilient? And when you feel like you're being broken down, you go, that's the path I need to go down, because that's the path that's going to take me to being open and understanding how I use my voice. I know when I started using my voice very young, I tried to, jump out and be this creative person. And people would say, like, can you talk up? What'd you say? What are you saying? I don't understand what you're saying. And it was so deep and tunneled inside. Who for yourself or out there, they may need to hear this conversation with Susie Mierzwik about how to open yourself up, where to find the key and unlock it. I bet you it's in the IOUs, and looking up and listening to that intuition is incredible. I think that if we have harmony to coexist, we can stop suppressing ourselves. We can start feeling the fear of that conflict and start unveiling who we truly are. We can feel that we have an unfulfilled potential, that sometimes we keep ourselves so small. So let's promise that we're going to keep ourselves very open, keep bringing in your today and moving forward, your mindset transformation entertainment. This is Rhonda Liebig, host and producer of Fresh Talks Global Vision. Love you. Thank you again, Susie. Love you, audience. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Rhonda.
Thank you.